Thank you so much for tuning in to Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson right here on Grander Radio and Achickwitbeatz.com. We thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you've told a friend. And you know what? Got another great show lined up for you. This time we have an interview with Dynamight, so make sure you stick around because you definitely don't want to miss that. All right, and so we're going to do what we do. Beats by yours truly, even everything playing in the background. So unless we state otherwise, you can always check out my instrumentals at Achickwitbeatz.com. Here we go. and with us on Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson on Grander Radio and Achickwitbeatz.com. We have the one, the only Dynamight. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling spectacular today. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, we good. We're great right now that you're in the spot. So, the man of many talents, man of many means. And so we're ready to share that story that you've got with our folks.
All right. So, where you want me to begin at?
Well, tell us about what got you into music, your love for it, and how it's grown throughout the years.
Well, the first thing that got me into music was when my mom was like 6 or 7 months pregnant, and she used to put the speakers on her stomach, the headphones on her stomach, just to calm me down. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I grew up with my father being an actual disc jockey back then. And I learned how to DJ my platoon off of watching him. So that got me into it because he used to throw parties and everything and make tapes for people. Back then it was 8-track tapes, but, special made tapes for people. And I was watching that and I learned off of that how to actually DJ back then. Mm. So that got me started. And from there, I just enjoyed music, the whole way it was put together. And I was able, after a while, appreciate the music by separating the lyrics from the music in my brain. And I was always talking to myself, I really want to learn how to do this. So my mom in 2nd grade decided that since I was a shy person, which I was, that she's going to put me in the choir and the band to get me out of my shyness because of the shows and stuff. And it did the job because I love being on stage from that point now. No longer being shy. So, but I learned all that stuff. And from that point, I just kept on doing that in high school, and I didn't start wanting to do anything on a professional level until I graduated from high school and I moved to Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I started seeing that there were people, actually with the Poets of Society, that's what Jay Eternal was in. I saw a video of his on TV. I'm like, wow, they're doing videos here? Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I got to meet him, and then met him in the studio, and then from that point, been growing since then.
Okay.
Awesome story.
Now I got something to throw at you right off the bat. Okay, now I'm a product of music in school. Okay, and so now, what kind of advice can you give to folks out there listening? See, you and I both have advantages having gone through those types of programs, whereas today, a lot of these school systems and whatever, they're cutting back, and a lot of the youth are missing out on what you and I experienced. You think that's good or bad? You think that's good or bad?
I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's terrible because you're putting people at a disadvantage. It's not just about learning about music, it's just learning about something different that they're normally exposed to. Give somebody a different outlook on things, because if you limit what they can think about and doing, you try and limit their start on life.
That's right. That's right. I agree with you 1,000% on that. Okay, and so I didn't mean to disrupt your flow, but I had to throw that out there. A shout out to those young folks, and we're trying to come up with ways to replace that while the school system are trying to shut that down. We're trying to come up with ways to open it back up even bigger, right, Dynamight?
Now that's true. But you have to remember though, that's part of what got hip hop started. So it's not like people who really want to do something extra can't do more and build. You can. That's where hip-hop came from, because a lot of people didn't get those the music in the schools and everything. They just decided that, okay, well, I don't know how to play anything, but I know this turntable. Mm-hmm. I know a friend that can, do music for me and everything, and play this music so I can rap. But like I said, some way, somehow, it's going to come into people's lives, but it's better to actually present it to them than to keep it away from them, though.
Right. Absolutely. And so, you had mentioned how you branched into other things. And so, just give the audience a little bit of background on what some of those other things that you do are.
Well, once I got in the recording studio, The engineer at the time, it was a studio called Brown & Brown Studio in Kalamazoo, and Kevin Brown passed away years ago, but he was an excellent engineer, and he was so intrigued by what we did, because he was the first time he did hip-hop music. He was doing more of an R&B, soul, and some rock and stuff like that, so we were like, he was learning from us as we were learning what we were doing at the same time. So because of that, he gave me a free education on engineering, which I knew a little bit about it because of DJing, but you know, the real insight of how to do things, he showed me a lot. I mean, and it was sessions that he was giving us extra time because, like I said, he was learning at the same time. So that was how I got the hat of being an engineer off of that. And then from that point, we started trying to do music on a professional level, but we didn't know the business end of it. So it just took a lot longer. I joined the Poetry Society for a while, and then we all got together with this group called the Urban Knights, which was a band / group. And we're still actually together now. We got back together a couple of years ago. So we're still back together, but we didn't know that end of the business part where we do now. So, but all that was a learning experience, all that. So I picked up on learning different things as we went along, because I know we didn't make it then because we were ready, not because it wasn't, we weren't good enough or didn't have enough people behind us or anything like that. It was just that, you know, when it's your time, it's your time.
Right.
And I guess that brings us up to the 2000 area when James and I just decided that we're going to try this out for a while. And we both just got our sound together to whereas last year we decided to become Eternal Might. Before that, we were James Eternal and Dynamight. And we were like developing the sound. And we have it now. So,
Okay. Well, now let me jump in with something, a hot spot for you. You mentioned, and I love the fact that you touched on the energy exchange, the info exchange, the education exchange that took place way back when you went in that studio, and you were learning from the engineer, but the engineer was learning from y'all. So that energy exchange right there, that was a powerful thing, and it brought both of you up at the same time, right?
Oh, yes. It made it so this man, before he passed, he had one of the better studios in the United States. And he was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, downtown. When I saw that, I thought I was in New York somewhere when I saw what he was doing with, because he had a Studio B that was like perfect for hip hop. But he had Studio A that had all kind of instruments in there. It was like the high quality stuff. And he had the best of both worlds because he helped us and we helped him. So yeah, that was incredible.
Wow. Okay. So, you know, something out of the good old days, but right now that fits right in with the new days, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, definitely does. I mean, even though now you can do stuff more at home, but you still, I mean, when it comes down to it, you still need to learn a lot of the techniques and actually have the heart and spirit for it. Because if you don't really want to do it, you're never going to really learn it properly. But you know, the fact that you have the access to it though does help a little bit more. Even with people trying to experience music, it does help.
What are some of the things you got going in the pipeline?
Wow. Well, I remember talking to you all a few years ago about coming on here, and I have to thank you all for inspiring me. It was an album I was working on. I didn't finish it at the time, and that's why I didn't want to come in yet. But like immediately after I talked to you all, I actually finished the final 4 or 5 songs, mastered it, got it pressed up, and it was called White Mind. And I sold a lot of copies of it, and I still have it left. But you all inspired me to finish that as CD because the fact that I was like, I don't want to get on an interview and have nothing to talk about. But, I mean, I thank you all very much because I also, in the process of doing that, I learned how to master better. Because I couldn't afford to take it to somebody, but I had the equipment to do it. So I was like, okay, let me master this. And from that point, I started working on a couple of movies, not soundtrack, but the scores. A friend of mine had a couple of movies he had done, and he wanted me to help him with the score of it. Although he's multi-talented, the guy named is Amaru, and he's a comedian / director / artist, and wears a lot of hats. And he wanted me to help him on the score, not because he couldn't do it, but he just thought I would bring something different to it. So that actually unlocked my thought process of how to attack music, because he wanted me to do it for a scientific thriller that he had, and I've never done music like that before. But after I did that, my whole sound was way beyond just basic hip hop or jazzy hip hop or whatever. It made it so I can do any genre of music, or I was even making genre of music because of that. So after that, what ended up happening was I started to work on my own music. So I had 2 years worth of things on iTunes and different places under Dynamight. And last year I had 8 releases as far as like albums. I tried to do one a month, but I ended up slowing down a little bit towards the end because I started working on Eternal Night at that point. And I started that because my mom ended up becoming my biggest fan before she passed away, and she was really into that. Before, she was like, have a plan B, and she started realizing that, you know what, this could have been my plan A in the first place. So ever since then, I just don't really go a day without doing something towards music, because that's what she wanted, and that's what I want. So,
well, Dynamite, now one word that you used, one phrase that you used just a minute ago that really caught my attention, I'm sure it caught the attention of the listeners, is the fact that, back then you took some steps to jump in and attack the music, okay? To jump in and attack the music. So what that does to me, it perks my ears up. That lets me know that you weren't looking to just slide on in there with something unprofessional or something that, you hadn't rehearsed, or I'm just going to see what I can put together. You jumped in there to attack music, meaning that you were serious about what you were doing, right?
Oh, definitely. I wake up in the morning with different ideas, and I just put them down. Sometimes they're full songs. Sometimes they're great skeleton towards a full song or whatever, but it goes down. And I don't go to sleep and wake up like, oh, I'm going to do hip hop this morning, or I just do it. And it's part of me, and it's part of what I feel. So, I don't waste time. I just go at it.
Okay. Well, hey, you're not messing around. I mean, that's a great way to be. Wouldn't you agree, Achickwitbeatz?
Absolutely. I know there was a time frame when I had started that, I used to try to sit down and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to make this today, but then it turns out totally different. So I know life is different when you just roll with what's inside of you. It gets a lot easier. So yeah, that's a beautiful sentiment to have.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. This time I start off with some things, and then when I come up with way better, I'm like, I'll do that later, what I was thinking about. We rolling with this right now. And you got to be able to understand when it's not time to do that. It's time to do something else.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so for those of you who tuned in late, you're listening to the illustrious voice of our guest today, the one and only Dynamite. And he's educating and providing some info, some empowering info on how he started and how you, the listener, can get your thing going as well. So, I mean, keep rolling. I'm sitting here taking notes about Dynamite.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I mean, basically, if you really, whatever your dream is, because it doesn't have to be music, but whatever it is, you have to be realistic about what you're good at. And your dream could be in music, but you're not good at making the music, but you're good at helping someone else get it out there, whatever like that. Do that. Because we all need help doing something, you know. Everybody can't be the star, and you have to realize, no matter how big your ego is, if it's not your time to be on stage or in front, then you get in where you fit in, because otherwise you're in the way. So, and that goes, like I said, it's not just music. That's just anything in life.
Right.
I also realize there's a balance for everything. You can't 100% throw yourself into anything. Life is all a balance. So make sure you have other things to make sure that you can keep doing what you want to do in order. Otherwise, you're not getting anywhere. Trust me, it's all going to crumble. So you have to remember that. Get your mind together, take care of business so you can do what you want to do. And actually, maybe one day turn into something that's what you do all the time. Life can be better.
Well, see, Achickwitbeatz, see, I like what he said. He said everybody can't be the star, so you got to get in where you fit in. You got different talents that you might be able to lend to the movement, to the momentum, and the talents that you got might be the one to take it over the top. So that's
exactly.
That's some strong stuff you're saying there. Strong stuff, sir.
Yes, indeed. So, before we get ready to close out, if you could just let the listeners know where they can find you, where they can keep up with what you've got going on and stay in touch.
Well, Instagram, I'm known as Dynamight the producer on there. It's Dynamight Music for Facebook, or just my last name is Howard, so I just put Dynamight Howard instead of Robert Howard, which is my government name. Facebook also for a regular person, but I normally put music out there, and not just mine on this. Saliva is mine, but I put music I think that people need to hear. And also, I almost forgot on Mixcloud is something for under Dynamite that's called Must Be Heard Music, and I did a show for years where I took music that's either old or new that doesn't get heard by mainstream. If you love music of any kind, I try to put it together. Even if it's music I'm not really into, but I know it's done at a high level, I put it together. I mean, people didn't know for years that Johnny Gill every 2 years does an album, and I was letting them know that, these are the songs. And some of your favorite artists from the 80s, if they're still alive and doing music, are still doing their thing, putting their own thing out. And the only reason why I stopped it last year from doing that was the fact that I was working so hard on my music and then started on the Eternal Might music. And I didn't have time to do anything but like a mix here or there, where I call it mix options, where I try to get the best of the music I've heard that year and put it together and compile it as a mix. But I was doing a show that was showing that. So check that out if you get a chance. I'll actually put a couple of Achickwitbeatz songs on there too, because not enough people hear her. So anyway.
Thank you. I've always appreciated that. And good looking out. But yeah, it's a wonderful series, great show. And shout out to Jay's Eternal, the other half of Eternal Might. So yeah, we're really glad that we could get you both on this show. And I guess before we head out for the night, are there any closing thoughts or advice that you might have in addition to what you've already shared for the listeners?
Well, I mean, the advice is be honest with yourself. No matter what's going on, really be honest with yourself. If you're going to do something that's going to impact someone's life and you're not serious about it, then don't actually do something that's going to just throw someone off. That means, and I mean that in all levels, because music is more of a reflection of life, just like any entertainment is. So if you're not going to be serious about doing something that's going to be helpful to somebody or something they can enjoy or whatever like that, just move out the way and do something else. Because I wouldn't want a doctor who's not qualified to do their job to be operating on me or anything if they're not supposed to be there. So, I mean, just be honest with yourself. If you just want to be in there for fame or getting noticed or anything, I mean, if you help somebody do a great song, video, and everything, I'm sure they'll let you be in the video. You'll be seen. Just like I said, get in where you fit in. Be honest with yourself. And whatever you do, be sincere and work hard at it. Don't halfway do anything. Either do it or don't do it. So that's my thing.
I'm digging this groove, man. I'm digging this groove. You're coming with that power, man. You're coming with that power. So we're looking forward to having you back, man. I mean, that was really royal right there. So shout out, hats off to you for all you're doing. That music education you provided, and those experiences way back in the day, and now you're taking us from back in the day to the now, and it's all good, sir. It's all good.
Absolutely.
Well, I would love to come back, and I enjoy just every moment of this. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. The one and only Dynamight right here with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. I mean, he educated us. We're sure he educated you, the listener, and that's some strong stuff that he is sharing with you in the spot.
All right, everyone, and that was Dynamight. We were so happy to have him on the show and have his good energy, good vibes, and so make sure that you check him out everywhere that he mentioned so you can keep up with what he's got coming up in the future. All right, and now's the time where we talk about what's going on in the industry. And one of the big things that's coming up, they just had a webinar this past Monday, is the Mechanical Licensing Collective. So this takes effect next year in January of 2021. So in addition to registering with your PRO, Performance Rights Organization, and registering with Sound Exchange, now if you're a songwriter, lyricist, composer, you also want to make sure that you register with the MLC as well, so that way they can make sure that they're collecting the mechanical royalties that are due to you. So that's 3 different things to check off on your list when you release music now, so make sure that you stay informed with that. We have information about them available on our social media accounts. You can always check more information out at Achickwitbeatz.com, because you definitely want to make sure that you get all the money that you're owed for all your hard work, because don't forget, music is a business. All right, we're going to get back to some more beats, and then I'll return with some more industry news after that. All right, and we are back. Another major thing that just happened is upon news of the vaccine, the COVID vaccine being, ready to go, about 90% workable or whatever they want to call it, Live Nation has seen a big bump in their stock prices because they were getting hit hard. Because as we know, COVID's kind of knocked, all industries, not just music, but many industries kind of on its bottom. So with the optimism in the stock market, we're seeing those prices go up. And after it was announced, Live Nation saw a bump of over 22%. And so, of course, it's been fluctuating a little bit since then, but it's a lot better than it was. So, the optimism does feel kind of good. Just even the thought of being able to go and attend concerts and live shows again is a good feeling, right?
Yeah, it's a really good feeling. I got a little bit of reservations with it, but I'm happy because that initial bump came through. And so, people can jump for joy and so on and so forth. My one thing that's on my mind is how long will it take to be put into effect? That's exactly what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
And so, until then, we need to see the proof in the pudding. We need to see the proof in the pudding. But I'm glad that everything started. People got a chance to be happy and look forward to this great thing happening.
Exactly, and especially for those who've invested, so at least they don't have to keep looking at their account dropping in the red every time they look at the stocks. So, some good news. All right, we're gonna get back to some more music, and then we'll be back with more industry news after this. are back. Something interesting that's been happening in the industry is Spotify has been spending a lot of money on podcast-related things. And one of their most recent acquisitions is Megaphone, which is a podcast ad platform. And they just bought it for $235 million. Now, keep in mind, they only brought in $185 million this third quarter of the year. So they're betting big on podcasts. And, even if they're not seeing that return instantly, they're looking in the future. So that's something to be paying attention to. So in the last 2 years, they've spent over $800 million on podcast-related things.
That's some great. Those are some strong figures. And that opens the door to a segue that we can actually share with our peeps, our entertainers, our people who have their hands into music. Is number one, you got to pay yourself first. Mm-hmm. Meaning, when you pay yourself first, you start grasping and generating a kitty, a pot, an account, and so on and so forth. And so these companies, they can't just, that money doesn't come out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. So they've worked and they've earned and they've saved that money. So when it trickles down to the folks on the front line, you got to do the same thing too. Exactly. Meaning, when you get a check in hand or payment in hand for doing something, don't go out and blow it. Don't go out and blow it. Invest it in some kind of way where that's going to grow for you and continue to do that. That way, you'll start having a nest egg. So when there's other equipment you need or this, that, the other that you want and stuff that you got to have, then you got the finances for it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wise words from Breezy Gipson, a.k.a. Financial Breeze. So make sure that you check him out because he's got all types of good tips and ways to help artists out with information like that.
Absolutely. We want to see everybody succeed and everybody thrive. But to thrive, you got to pay yourself first. Don't just dash out trying to buy some jewelry to look good, this, that, the other, or put money in a car that you really don't need at that moment just so you can look good. So, think about those finances. Oh, yeah.
Indeed. All right, and we're going to get back to some more music before we head out for the night. All right, it is that time again. We thank you so much for joining us. We've just had a great time, haven't we?
Man, you know what? This knowledge, this music, this vibe, this positivity, it's just up and up, you know. So all I can do is give it a double thumbs up. I love it. You know, it's awesome, man. And with you in the driver's seat like this, it really is just like double, triple awesome. So, hey.
Well, thank you so much. So, all right, so a huge thanks to you. Make sure that you come back next week. We'll be right here on Grander Radio and Achickwitbeatz.com. So make sure, same time, same place, tune in, tell a friend, and we'll see you then. Peace.
Peace.